Hi students. So the last video which was being dealt by me over the Renisha, in this video I am just continuing that. So we were talking about William Shakespeare. William Shakespeare was born in 1564. Yes, 1564, and died in 1616. And I have just started dealing with his sonnets. Yes. So his sonnets were 154 in numbers, with the rhyme scheme of A B A B C D C D E F E F G G, and they all were autobiographical sonnets, and they all were dedicated to his friend W.H. unknown, and his beloved dark lady. There is a great history behind it, why he has not disclosed the name, exact name of W.H. and dark lady, why he has not mentioned the name of his friend and his beloved. You can just we are just reminding you the line what often I used to say, जिस दिल में बसा था प्यार तेरा उस दिल को कभी का तोड़ दिया, बदनाम न होने देंगे तुझे, तेरा नाम ही लेना छोड़ दिया. Some great writer has written these lines, some great poet has written these lines, and I think these lines are very fit for William Shakespeare. He has never mentioned the exact name of his friend and beloved by the name W.H. and Dark Lady. He has written all his sonnets. In time to time, several literary critics has tries to guess who was Dark Lady and who is W.H., but this is not very clear. Leave that point. So he has written all his sonnets on W.H. and Dark Lady, and the theme of his sonnets was love, friendship, beauty, and all these kinds of things he has tried to produce. And his sonnets has a the kind of beauty he has produced. It was fair youth. Yes, the concept of fair youth he has just tried to put in his creations, immortal beauty, and what great teachers used to say, that the beauty of art is more permanent than the beauty of living thing. He has tried to just make the beauty of his friend in the form of art in his creation, so that it may not be perished and just destroyed in future. So all these kinds of things were there in his sonnets, and except his great sonnets, he has written several dramas, tragedies, and comedies. He has written for what he is known. He has written 37 plays. He is known for his great tragedies. You know, four great tragedies often asked in the examination: Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. Students, you must have in your mind the serial of these four tragedies, because often in the examination this is asked that what is the exact sequence of four tragedies ever written by William Shakespeare. So that is Hamlet first, Hamlet, Othello, King Lear, and Macbeth. These four great tragedies were written by William Shakespeare. Other tragedies are also there. Yes, Antonio and Cleopatra is another very remarkable creation. Antonio and Cleopatra, and Julius Caesar. Nobody can forget. Yes, Julius Caesar, very great creation he has by his pen in the field of drama. In tragedies he has ever produced. So many great creations in comedies. So many creations are there. Yes, Twelfth Night, nobody can forget. Twelfth Night, Merchant of Venice, Tempest, and other creations, all well that ends well. So here we have a list what we have just collected, important works ever written by William Shakespeare. So I want to just give you. You can note down among his great tragedies what important comedies are there. So we are giving you All Well That Ends Well, and The Comedy of Errors. Yes, Love's Labour Lost, Merchant of Venice, Twelfth Night, A Midsummer Night's Dream, often asked in the examination, very remarkable creation. A Midsummer Night's Dream. Yes, Cymbeline. Cymbeline is also very important for the examination. Cymbeline, the tempest. And one thing I want to add here, that tempest like creations are those creations which are actually representing the Renaissance spirit. The sea voyage, the traveling, just finding new places as you have studied in Tempest, the character of Prospero, who just reached there on unknown Iceland, where he found a special kind of powers. He has controlled the supernatural elements. Means thinking thinking abroad word, abroad Icelands, means these kinds of approach were actually indirect way. We are understanding that this is nothing but the approach of Renaissance. So in the creations of William Shakespeare, especially in these kinds of creation, and in other creations also, the kind of approach of beauty he has produced, the kind of Icelands and the description of those places what you will find in 12th night like creations, as you can never forget the line, if music be the food of love, play on. What Duke was in intoxicated state of mind was telling this line, the beauty is the food of, beauty is the food of love, just play on. So these kinds of things, the approach for beauty, the approach for new kind, the approach for new kind of things, new kind of vision, the unknown places man is reaching, fortunately or unfortunately on some unknown land. He just establishing his life. He just surviving there. So all these things are just the effect of Renaissance what he has just produced. Another very important creation, especially now we are proceeding towards the tragedies ever written by William Shakespeare. Among his great tragedies, you know that Romeo and Juliet, King Lear, yes, Julius Caesar, the history of Troilus and Cresside, Hamlet, Macbeth. These are his great creations, and among his historical plays, he has written several historical plays because he has great attachment with the courts also. So that's why he has written several historical plays. Yes, King John. King John is his great historical play. King John. Yes, Richard III, Henry V, Richard II, Henry VIII is a very remarkable creation he has. And among his poems, among his poetry, among his poetic creations, the collection of poem what he has produced, the Venus and Adonis, his collection of poems, his poetry books are often asked in the examination in various forms. So very important creation, Venus and Adonis, Rape of Lucrece, the Rape of Lucrece, Shakespearean sonnet. Yes, Shakespearean sonnet. Several questions are asked from Shakespearean sonnet. So this is also the collection of 154 sonnets. And Passionate Pilgrim is also the creation in verse, Passionate Pilgrim. Phoenix and Turtle. Phoenix and Turtle. Love's Complaint. So these are the great creations ever written by William Shakespeare. I will make a separate video on that. What kind of specialties, what kind of characteristics are there in the literary creations of William Shakespeare. So in short, we have tried to just put the name of William Shakespeare in the field of English literature in Renaissance, what kind of approach he has, what kind of literature was produced by William Shakespeare. So all those things we have made clear here. And now I am just proceeding towards the Jacobean age. Students, the Jacobean age is also in the impression of Renaissance. Renaissance effect was also when Queen Elizabeth died in 1603. So James I just started ruling over England, and from 1603 to 1625 James I ruled in England, and his another name was Jacob. That's why this age is called Jacobean age. So this age was also very productive age, although the social conditions were not very prolific, but in especially in the field of literature, great achievements were just achieved by literary artists. And the remarkable thing is that although Elizabeth was no more in the world on the throne, but William Shakespeare was there, and he was producing nice comedies and tragedies. And especially in the last final phase of William Shakespeare life, he has produced excellent creations like Tempest, the great play, great romance known for its concept of forgiveness. Generally, in most of the creations in William Shakespeare, you will not find the concept of forgiveness, but in his this creation, it may be the effect of his phase of life, that in the old age of life, most of the men become that the this revenge, this struggle, this fight is nothing. There is meaningless. This is not very meaningful. Forgiveness is the nice thing. Some moral kind of approach just come in the final phase of life. This may be the cause of William Shakespeare last phase of life. He has ever produced Tempest like creation, and also this is the creation Tempest known for its Renaissance approach. Already I have made it clear. So in Jacobean age, William Shakespeare was there. Other writers were also there, but those who were not there, we are just giving you the name of those who just represented the Jacobean era in the terms of Renaissance, who were just influenced by Renaissance. Among them, John Donne was there. Nobody can forget the name of John Donne. Yes, John Donne, a great metaphysical poet. John Donne was a great metaphysical poet. And John Donne, he was born in 1572 and died in 1627. Yes, 1621. Sorry, 1621. He died in 1621. And his poems are full of metaphysical approach. Metaphysical elements were there in his creations. Divine kind of approach he has tried to just put there in his creations. And in personal life, he was also not a very good man. he, he has 13 children. Yes, he has 13 children, and physically he was not very beautiful. Uh, he was very lean and thin. He always looked like weak and tired, some ill and some sick. Like man, he was always there. And other things are very interesting about his life, that he used to put several socks so that he may just put on shoes. So weak, so lean and thin he was. So and students, he just married the daughter of his own boss, who was not mature below 18 year of age. For that he was imprisoned also. So these are the things, interesting things, what I have just tried to make you clear about his life. And he has always criticized the women. Nobody can forget his great creation, Go and Catch a Falling Star. He has said there that all the impossible things can be possible. Even a child can be begot by the root of mandrake. If you study very interesting poem, especially girls will never like it, because he has just made all kinds of bad comments about girls. He has written there that all the impossible things can be possible in the world, but a woman can never be faithful. These kinds of things he has put in his creations. Metaphysical kind of approach he has adapted. Some divine and mystical things he has adapted in his creations. Among his great creations, divine poems is the title of his collection of poems. Divine poems, yes. Pseudo martyrs. Pseudo martyrs. Pseudo. Pseudo means false. Pseudo martyrs. Death's dwells. Another creation. Death's dwells. Death's dwells. Another creation is valediction. Valediction. Forbidding. Mourning. Yes, you are right recognizing. A valediction, forbidding morning. What about Honorable Pandey sir has once made a nice lecture that in this creation John Donne has made a very remarkable and very encouraging, very inspiring philosophy there, that during the departure of someone, during the goodbye of someone, during the valediction of someone, valediction forbidding mourning means you must not be mourned for mournfulness. The sadness is not allowed. The very inspiring thing he has just made there in this creation, valediction for forbidding mourning. Very remarkable. George, another great man of this period was George Herbert. He has contributed a great in the field of literature. Yes, Richard Kransa has made great impact in the field of English literature. He was also very much influenced by Renaissance spirit. Andrew Marvell's role can never be forgotten in the development of Renaissance spirit in the age of Jacobean era. And now after Jacobean age, the age which was started, it was called the late Renaissance period. Means yes, this is the period of John Milton, when Puritanists were just influencing the society. Civil war was there, and gunpowder plot, Guy Fawkes plot. You later on when I will discuss the 17th century separately, so I will just make all those things clear. What is Guy Fawkes plot and what is gunpowder plot? Means the England was not stable in those days, especially great controversies were there among Protestant and Catholics, and at that time Catholics were very much dominating, and they have none other but they were the Puritanists, who were just adapting the approach of religious kind of concept were just followed by them. Some chastity, churchship, religious kind of approach. They have the single target that all men must not study anything else. And this is the year, this is the age when the theaters were closed finally. It was the thinking of later on I will discuss all these things. I will make a separate video, but here this was the age of John Milton also. In this final, the late phase of Renaissance, the most important writer is John Milton. Before John Milton, Thomas Carew has made great impact in this period. He was also influenced by Renaissance very much. Yes, Thomas Carew, you are right guessing. True Beauty in intermediate you have studied, yes. Choral, yes, so many things are there. Star-like eyes are there, coral lips. Very interesting poem that is students used to ask again and again the teacher. They expect their teacher to teach this. So very interesting poem, True Beauty by Thomas Carew. So Thomas Carew was also representing the last phase of Renaissance, and after Thomas Carew, the great man John Milton was there, who was representing the not only Renaissance approach, but he was a great Puritanist, and he was following the group of Puritanists in 17th century. So he is known for his great creations like Paradise Lost, Paradise Regained, and students, you can never forget the Paradise Lost. The book Paradise Lost, especially you have studied in MA previous, Paradise Lost book first. So the character of Satan, this was nothing but he was very much like the representative of Renaissance. John Milton has just mentioned there hell, heaven, and hell and heaven. The concept of hell and heaven was actually Renaissance spirit. The kind of revolt in the mind of Satan for the God, it was also Renaissance spirit, that Satan like man was challenging the authority of God, having a new kind of thought and vision. He has written there, if you have in your mind, in Paradise Lost, what though the field be lost, the kind of Renaissance approach, the kind of Renaissance spirit what was there in the approach of Saturn, what though the field be lost, all is not lost, unconquerable will, study of revenge, immortal hate. So all these things are there, what were there, which was totally the influence of Renisha. And especially in Renaissance, what kind of discoveries were made. When I have just made the video, you can just watch there, the discoveries were there. So in the hell, what the things John Milton has just mentioned there, the gulf was there. So gulf is nothing but the petroleum, what you have today, petrol, diesel. So under the earth, in the earth you find petrol and diesel. So in that creation, John Milton has just there that the river of gulfs are there, so many metals are there. So all these things, later on I will make a separate video on John Milton, when I have decided to make several videos, writer wise, poet wise, dramatist wise, essayist wise. So here in this video I am only just touching those things what are influenced by Renisha. So the great creations by John Milton, among them we have noted some creations. Allegro, Allegro is very remarkable creation, ever written by John Milton. Another creation, Il Pensereso, IL Preneseroso, El Pensereso. Yes. Another very important creation which is often asked in the examination, you can note down the name of this creation, Lycidas. This is the pastoral elegy, Lycidas. You can never forget the name of this poem, and you should never forget the name of this poem, often asked in several examinations. Lycidas. Yes. Who is the writer of Lycidas? Yes, this is John Milton, and this is a pastoral elegy. And another very remarkable creation, what for John Milton is known, is Paradise Lost. And Paradise Lost was written in 1667. Yes, 1667 is the date for John Milton's Paradise Lost. Paradise Regained is also great epic. This is classical epic. William Shakespeare has followed all the fundamentals of classical epic, ever produced by great classic poets like great classics, that Virgil. Yes, Virgil was there, Homer was there. So they have set a certain kind of classical approach, certain kind of standard for classical epics. So those kinds of fundamentals were followed by John Milton in his Paradise Lost and Paradise Regained. So what is the classical epic? What are the characteristics of classical epic? I will make a separate video, and especially in class I have taught all those things. The incarnation of muse, theme must be cleared in the beginning, and victory of good over evil, great hero. All those things I have made clear. In this series, another creation of John Milton was sermon agonist. You can never forget. You should never forget sermon agonist. Sermon agonist is another very important creation, and few prose work was also produced by John Milton. So among his prose works, first work was Reformation. The name of first work in prose was Reformation. This can be asked in the examination because this is in prose. Reformation of education is another creation of education. Areopagitica, spelling Areopagitica, Areopagitica, very important creation. You can note down. This can be asked in the examination. Areopagitica. Next creation is a treatise of civil war. A treatise, a treatise, a treatise of civil war, a treatise of civil war. Another creation, history of Britain. This is also very important creation, important book. This can be also asked in the examination. Often this is also asked. The history of Britain. Another creation is of true religion, of true religion, and another creation is De Doctrine Christiana, De Doctrine Christiana, De Doctrine Christiana is another very important creation of John Milton. Students, John Milton was a Puritanist, and he has always applied moralistic approach in his creation. Religious ideals were just given in his creation. The concept of God, the concept of Satan, the employment of supernatural elements there in the form of God and Satan, of man's first disobedience. Actually, uh, there was a concept in those days that man is born sinner, and the concept of man is born sinner has influenced this time very much. The Puritanists thought that this life is not to enjoy, this is not the life to enjoy the dramas in the theater. We are born sinners. Actually, we are discussing this point so that you can understand the approach of John Milton. So he was the follower of the principle that we are the born sinners, we are the children of Adam and Eve. So when Adam and Eve has committed the sin, when he has just picked the fruit of forbidden tree, the knowledge fruit what he had just got there, although it was not allowed by the God. So that's why they have committed the crime, they have committed the sin. And because of the children of Adam and Eve, we are also sinners in this world. And if we want to release, note that we are not saying it. This is the concept of Puritanists, the group which was represented by John Milton. So they used to say that if we want to release our sin, so we have to worship only. Worship is the only way. We should follow only the ways of church. We should only use to just pronounce the sermon, the prayer of God. Only church, only God, only religion is everything. Except it, nothing is to accepted. And especially Cromwell, who has just influenced this period, and Cromwell, who was also a Puritanist, and he has started ruling in England. Although in those days no king was there, but he was ruling in England, and in those days, the parliament was called the Parliament of Saints, because only Puritanist saints, friars, monks were uh, in the legislation, in the court, in the palaces, uh, in the empire, in the ruling ship, means everywhere only the supremacy of religious authorities were there. Only Puritanists were just, we can say that they were overlapping in the society, they were influencing the society. So it was the impression of all those which has made John Milton and his creations like that. Students, we have a lot to tell you about this, but I think when I have decided to make separate videos on these writers separately, so I think we should just close my video right now on this juncture. Thank you very much.